You think she's gone forever, don't you? You think the story ended the moment she walked away, the moment she turned her back and left you standing in silence. But what if I told you the story hasn't even begun yet? What if I told you that she will come back, not maybe, not possibly, but with certainty, if you understand this one truth I'm about to reveal to you right now? And if you miss it, if you click away, you'll keep repeating the same heartbreak cycle for the rest of your life. Listen carefully, because what I'm going to say will shock you. Women don't return to the man who begs. They don't return to the man who cries. They don't return to the man who spends his nights writing paragraphs, hoping to change her mind. That man dies in her memory the moment he hands her his dignity. But there is one kind of man, a rare kind who she cannot erase, who she cannot silence in her own thoughts, no matter how far she runs. That man does not chase, he does not beg, he does not collapse. He does something so powerful, so unexpected, that it flips the entire dynamic and forces her to question everything she thought she knew about you. And here's the dangerous part: you already have the ability to be that man, but you've been blinded by pain, by fear, by need. If you stay with me until the very end of this video, I will break down exactly what to do, step by step, in a way you've never heard before. Miss one piece of it, and you'll miss the secret that makes her come back every single time. Now let's begin. When a woman leaves, the first reaction of most men is panic. They feel an emptiness that burns inside their chest, and in that desperation, they rush to close the gap. They text constantly, they call late at night, they plead with her to understand, they try to explain their worth in words she's no longer interested in hearing. But here is the brutal truth: the more you chase, the faster she runs. The more you cling, the more suffocated she feels. Because psychologically, pursuit from a place of weakness is not attractive, it is repulsive. It exposes your dependency. It exposes that she is the center of your identity. And once a woman feels that she has complete control over you, her respect evaporates. And without respect, there is no return. The first principle you must understand is that silence speaks louder than begging ever could. And peace-keeping brings, you force her to confront the void she created. That void is not just about your presence, but about the energy, the stability, the validation she secretly relied on but never admitted. The human mind is drawn toward mystery, toward the things it cannot fully grasp or control. When you step back, when you detach, you create that mystery. You create that question in her head: why isn't he begging? Why isn't he chasing like every other man would? What does he know about himself that gives him this calm confidence? Detachment is not indifference, it is strength. It is not about pretending you don't care. It is about caring enough for yourself to refuse to be treated as less than you deserve. This is where most men fail. They believe detachment means coldness, anger, or playing games, but real detachment is rooted in self-respect. It's the ability to say, I will not lower my value to keep someone who cannot see it. This is not arrogance, this is dignity. And dignity is magnetic. Women are drawn to it because it represents security, it represents stability, it represents a man who will not crumble under emotional pressure. From a philosophical perspective, when you chase, you are saying to the universe, I lack. When you detach, you are declaring, I am enough. That energy difference changes everything. It shifts the power dynamic in silence, without a word spoken. She begins to wonder if she miscalculated, if she underestimated who you are. This is not manipulation, it is reality. Human beings always value what they fear losing, and the moment you detach, she feels the risk of permanent loss. That risk, that fear, it stirs her in ways your begging never could. Imagine two men. One loses the woman he loves and immediately falls apart, flooding her phone with messages, drowning in tears, making promises that even he cannot keep. The other loses the woman he loves but chooses silence. He accepts the pain but channels it into his work, into his health, into his mind. He does not run after her, he lets her absence be felt. Which man do you think she rethinks? Which man do you think she replays in her mind late at night? It is always the one who stands tall in the face of loss, because loss does not break him, it builds him. There is a paradox here that most never see. The less you chase, the more they feel pulled back. The more you detach, the more they seek your presence. This is because detachment reveals to her something she cannot stand to face, that you are capable of living without her. And that terrifies her because at the core of attraction is not comfort but challenge. She doesn't come back because you begged. She comes back because you showed her without words that your world does not revolve around her. That is power, that is leadership, that is masculine energy in its rawest form. So the next time you feel that wave of desperation, stop. Do not act on it, do not send the text, do not beg her to understand. Step back and let her feel the silence. Let her feel the absence. Let her confront the reality of a man who chooses dignity over desperation. Because when you stop chasing, you force her to chase her own thoughts, her own fears, her own mistakes. And in that chase, she will circle back to you. Remember this, detachment is not the end of love, it is the beginning of respect. And without respect, love cannot survive. The man who understands this will never be forgotten, and the man who forgets it will never be remembered. Choose which man you will be. When you stop chasing and detach, the next step is not to sit in silence and wait for her to come knocking. That's where so many men go wrong. They think no contact means sulking in the shadows, watching her every move, secretly hoping for her call. That is not growth. That is still dependency disguised as patience. The truth is, the moment she walks out, you are given a gift, the chance to rebuild yourself into a man who cannot be ignored, not by her, not by anyone. This is the stage where strength is forged. This is where you focus all your energy not on her absence, but on your evolution. Understand something fundamental. A woman does not return because you sat still and waited. She returns because when she looks back, she sees a man who is unrecognizable from the one she left. Growth is magnetic. Transformation is undeniable. When you rise from heartbreak with discipline, purpose, and drive, you become the very thing she never expected you to become. The version of you that she thought was only potential now turned into reality, and that realization hits harder than any text you could ever send. Psychologically, human beings are drawn to progress. Stagnation repels us. If you remain the same man after she leaves, what reason does she have to reconsider? But if she left you thinking you were weak, and she looks back to see you strong, if she left thinking you were broken, and she looks back to see you whole, if she left thinking you were lost, and she looks back to see you focused, suddenly her narrative about you shatters. Suddenly she questions herself. Did I misjudge him? Did I underestimate him? Did I throw away something irreplaceable? This is not about impressing her. It's about elevating yourself. It's about becoming the man you should have been all along. Too many men let heartbreak destroy them. They drink, they complain, They waste time scrolling through her pictures, stalking her life, drowning in the memory of what was. But the man who turns heartbreak into fuel is unstoppable. He goes to the gym not to show off, but to discipline his body. He invests in his career not to flaunt wealth, but to establish security and power. He reads, he learns, he sharpens his mind not to boast, but to expand his vision. He builds friendships, networks, communities that uplift him, not ones that drag him down. That is real growth. And that kind of man is not forgotten. From a philosophical perspective, heartbreak is not a curse, it is initiation. It is a trial by fire. It is life asking you, will you crumble or will you rise? And the answer to that question defines the man you become. Women are not drawn to men who crumble, they are drawn to men who rise. When she sees you turning pain into progress, she cannot ignore it. Because growth is rare, most men remain stuck in bitterness, trapped in resentment, but the man who uses heartbreak as a stepping stone to greatness is the one she cannot escape in her thoughts. Imagine her scrolling one day and seeing you glowing, stronger, sharper, moving forward with purpose. Do you think she scrolls past casually? No, she pauses, she replays, she rethinks. Because growth confronts her with a truth she doesn't want to face. She left you, but in leaving, she may have lost the best version of you. That thought alone is enough to haunt her, but here's the secret. You do not grow for her. If you grow for her, your power is still in her hands. You grow for yourself. You grow because you refuse to let heartbreak define you. You grow because your life is bigger than one person's decision to stay or leave. And ironically, it is that very independence, that very self-sufficiency that makes her circle back. Because women are drawn to strength they cannot control. They are drawn to men who elevate with or without them. So do not waste a single moment in self-pity. Use every ounce of pain as energy to rise. Every time you feel the urge to chase, to beg, to break down, remember that those are moments you could be using to build yourself. Because when you grow, you do not just increase the chances of her return, you also increase the chances of attracting someone even greater. You position yourself as a man of value, and a man of value never needs to beg for love. Never forget this growth is the loudest revenge, the deepest healing, and the greatest magnet. The man who focuses on becoming unstoppable after heartbreak is the man she will never be able to forget. Strength is the one thing she cannot resist, and weakness is the one thing she cannot respect. You can pour your heart out in 1,000 messages, you can tell her you'll change, you can even promise her the world, but if it comes from a place of desperation, it does nothing. Women are not moved by pity, they are moved by power. And when I say power, I don't mean aggression or arrogance. I mean inner strength. The kind of strength that makes you stand tall when everything inside you wants to collapse. The kind of strength that refuses to let heartbreak define you. That is the strength she comes back to every single time. Patience over the Hessian truth is that women test men consciously or unconsciously. They want to know, if I push him away, if I leave, if I create distance, will he crumble or will he hold his ground? And most men crumble. Most men expose that their entire sense of worth was tied to her validation. The moment she withdraws it, they fall apart. But the rare man, the man she remembers, the man she fears losing forever, is the one who refuses to be destroyed. That man does not collapse under rejection, he transforms it into resilience. He does not fight for attention, he commands it with his silence, his presence, his dignity. From a psychological point of view, attraction is deeply tied to respect. If she does not respect you, she cannot love you, no matter how much you beg. Respect is born out of strength, not weakness, and strength is not just physical, it is emotional, mental, spiritual. A man who can master himself, his impulses, his emotions, his need for validation becomes untouchable. That mastery is what makes her see him as irreplaceable, because deep down, every woman knows that men of true strength are rare. Think about it, the man who bends to every demand, who loses himself trying to keep her, who sacrifices his dignity in the hope of not losing her, he becomes invisible in her eyes. She knows she has him, and what is already owned loses its value. But the man who stands rooted in who he is, who does not break his principles to keep her, who makes it clear without words that his life continues with or without her, that man holds her mind captive because she cannot fully possess him. He is not caged, he is free, and freedom is attractive because it carries risk. Risk of loss, risk of mystery, risk of not being fully in control. That risk is what keeps her coming back. Philosophically, love without strength is dependency, and dependency is not love, it is attachment driven by fear. When you embody strength, you are not afraid of loss. You understand that her leaving does not end your story. It may hurt, it may wound, but it cannot destroy you. That mindset changes everything because it places you in a position of choice, not need. She can feel that. Women feel energy before they hear words, and the energy of a man who knows his worth is louder than any speech he could give. Picture this: two men are left by the same woman. One cries at her feet, swears he cannot live without her, makes himself small in the hope of keeping her. The other allows her to walk away. He does not chase, he does not argue, he lets her go, and in her absence, he continues to thrive. Months later, which man is she haunted by? Which man enters her mind uninvited at midnight? Not the one who begged, because she has already categorized him as replaceable. It is the one who stood strong, because she realizes that losing him meant losing the very thing women crave but rarely admit: security, respect, leadership, and resilience. And here is the irony: when she comes back, she does not come back purely out of love, she comes back out of recognition. Recognition of the strength she overlooked, recognition of the value she underestimated, recognition of the rare presence she may never find again. And once she feels that recognition, it gnaws at her. It whispers in her mind when she meets other men. It lingers when she's alone. It grows louder every time she sees you thriving without her. That is why she returns, not because you begged, but because your strength left an imprint she cannot erase. So never forget this: weakness pushes her away, strength draws her back. Not the strength of ego, not the strength of dominance, but the strength of self-respect. That is the foundation of lasting attraction. That is the truth most men never realize until it is too late. And if you take nothing else from this, remember this final line: she will always come back to strength, but she will never stay for weakness. Be the man she cannot forget, not the man she easily replaces.